Our family's deity. A story by Eby's Heart. Have you told your wife the main reason you are traveling home? Auntie Franca asked her younger brother Kayo on the phone. Why do I need to inform her? I am the man of the house. Besides, she will never agree, Kayo said in a whisper, because he does not want Angela, his wife, to hear him. Kayo and Angela were married for 6 years before giving birth to Max, their son. Remember to send money for all the things we need for Max's initiation ceremony, Mama Kayo said to her son happily on the phone the next day. Kayo's father was a very strong witch doctor who believed that his first grandson will take over from him. Honey, I wanted us to dedicate Max in church first before traveling home with him. At least let Pastor Patrick lay his hands on him before we leave, Angela, Kayo's wife suggested. Kayo was so upset at his wife's suggestion, but kept quiet. He would have shouted at her and taken his son home all by himself, but Angela's support is needed. She is the only one who can hand over her son to the deity, their family's deity. That was why everyone kept reminding Kayo to inform her. But knowing the kind of wife he married, she will rather die than hand her son over for such practice. Kayo discussed with his mother to help him and find a way to make his wife do as she would be told. His mother agreed and promised to help as much as she could. So everything was kept a secret, and Angela was simply excited to take her child home to her parents-in-law for the first time after 6 years of waiting. She told everyone how her in-laws supported her during the time she was trying to get pregnant, not knowing that they were responsible for her delayed pregnancy. They believed the child that will take over the worship of their family deity should not be hastily born. So they made sure Angela couldn't conceive until they were ready to welcome their new chief priest. When they got to the village, everyone ran outside to greet baby Maximum. Angela saw her sisters-in-law kneeling and bowing to Max, her baby. Angela found it strange and uncomfortable. Why are you bowing to a 1-year-old child, and why are all of you around? You never told me you were visiting home too? Angela asked her sisters-in-law. They both smiled and told her they simply came home to welcome her child. Angela felt happy and appreciated to have all her husband's siblings and even uncles around to welcome her child. Your family's love towards me and Max is too much, Angela told Kayo, her husband, giggling. 2 days after their return, Papa Kayo told him to start putting Max in the small coffin that would be used for his initiation. I don't want my wife to know about this. We must all work together to achieve it. Since her consent will be required only on the actual day of the ceremony. Let's be discreet and do the other things required and leave convincing her to me, Kayo said, frowning. You know Max will sleep inside the coffin for 3 days before the initiation. So, you have to take my wife away every morning for those 3 days, Kayo suggested to his family. If Max can sleep even if it is for an hour every day inside the coffin, that will be enough, Papa Kayo said, ringing bell in front of his shrine. Kayo's family have a deity they have been worshipping for generations, and they believe it can kill all of them if they don't produce an heir that will take over in each generation. The next morning, Mama Kayo told Angela that they will be visiting a relative who has been asking about her. She agreed but prepared her son to follow them. But her sister-in-law, Auntie Franca, told her to leave Max with her. Angela wanted to protest that Max sucks too much and might cry when she leaves. But Auntie Franca picked offense and started crying and saying it's because she doesn't have a husband or a child yet, that is why Angela is insulting her and making her feel less of a woman who cannot take care of a baby of just 1 year old. Everyone faced Angela and emotionally blackmailed her into leaving Max behind. Immediately she left, they put baby Max inside the tiny coffin and began their incantation. 1 hour later, they wanted to bring him out but he had stopped breathing. And just then, Kayo's phone rang and it was his mother. We are about to come home, you can remove Max from the coffin now, his mother must not see such. Hello, hello, Mama Kayo continued saying hello, but Kayo could not answer her. Kayo found his voice after some seconds and said, keep her there a little longer, we are not done. Mama Kayo then sat down under the tree closest to her and started breathing fast. I feel so tired, let us rest for a while. Angela empathized with her and sat down. I have been calling Kayo and Auntie Franca for some minutes now and none of them has picked my calls. I wanted to know if Max was disturbing, Angela said, sounding worried. You don't have to worry yourself, since we are almost home, we will soon find out why they didn't pick your calls, Mama Kayo said, and still pretending to be in pains. After waiting for 30 minutes, Angela was no longer comfortable. Mama, let me quickly go home and know what is happening. I will come and help you get home later. But Mama Kayo refused and started saying she does not have respect for her, that is why she wants to leave her and go home. Angela reluctantly stayed back. After almost an hour of sitting at a place and forcing conversation, Mama Kayo reluctantly agreed to go home. She had tried her son's number and even her daughter's, but got no response. When they got home, their house was empty. All the doors were open and cloths were littered everywhere. Angela started crying, saying, I think something happened. Kayo, Kayo, she called out her husband's name. Stop it, Mama Kayo shouted at Angela. Why are you creating a scene? Are you saying that my son Kayo cannot stroll around the village with his child? Angela tried to relax and wait for her husband to return. She kept herself busy with washing her son's cloth and cooking for the whole family. It was almost dark when Kayo returned with Maximum. Angela ran to carry her child. She was very happy and relieved, but she noticed that her husband and sisters-in-law, who returned with her husband, didn't respond to her greeting. Did something happen? Angela asked them, frowning, but no one answered her. Kayo entered their father's bedroom to sleep, while his sisters retired to bed immediately. Mama Kayo followed her husband and son to know how everything went. How did it go? Mama Kayo asked, eagerly waiting for an answer. There is something wrong with that baby, but we don't know yet, so we will try again tomorrow, Papa Kayo replied, his wife frowning. Angela took her sleeping son inside. She kept wondering what she had done. The next day, Kayo came out and started shouting at Angela. Why were you calling me non-stop? Is Max not my child too? Or am I running away with him? You have to start trusting that I have the interest of this family at heart, unless we will go out separate ways. That word broke Angela's heart so much. She thought of what her offense could be and started wailing. What she didn't know was that they were trying to break her and blame her for pushing them away, so that she will have no choice than to agree with when the time comes. We must complete the initiation ceremony as fast as possible. Remember, the spirit that came into Max is not from our deity, so we must hurry up and conclude the initiation fast to avoid Max becoming something else, Papa Kayo said fearfully. The next day, Mama Kayo went to Angela and said, my best friend is doing a little get-together for us, her age mates. You have to come with me to see how such things are done in the village, Mama Kayo said with a fake smile plastered on her face. Angela wanted to take her son as usual, but Mama Kayo slyly said, leave the boy to bond with his father. He is a boy and needs his father more. Angela didn't know how to protest to avoid offending her mother-in-law. She vowed to return as fast as possible. Immediately they left, Kayo put his son inside the coffin again. They started incantations and before you know it, Papa Kayo's hidden shrine, which was inside his room, started burning. They tried to take Max and run outside, but it seems he was the fire, so they all ran outside, leaving Max in the fire. The fire burnt Papa Kayo's shrine to the ground. Kayo was crying like a child, thinking his son was gone, but they were shocked when they heard Max crying from inside the coffin. Apparently, the coffin didn't get burnt, and the other parts of the house didn't get burnt too, only the shrine burnt. Angela was crying while running home with Mama Kayo because they have heard of the fire incident. Max was fine and Kayo was relieved, but Papa Kayo was so scared. That is no longer Max, that is something else, Papa Kayo whispered in Kayo's ear. We need to kill him now before whatever came into him grows bigger, Papa Kayo whispered again. Kayo looked at his father and saw the kind of fear he had not seen before. But killing his child is way too hard. How will his wife feel, he thought, frowning. But allowing what they thought was an evil to thrive is another bigger risk. So the next day, Kayo and his father traveled to the neighboring village to meet an elderly man who was an expert in spiritual matters. You must kill the child or make sure he doesn't grow up under your roof. That child will be the end of your generation. The spirit possessing him is too strong and is capable of destroying your entire family, the old man told them. Kayo and his father came home and had a family meeting. Since their family believes that they cannot progress without getting a new chief priest for their deity, so it was easy to convince them that the bad spirit possessing Max is capable of destroying their family. Kayo and his family tried everything possible to kill Max, but failed. It was as if he was not even human. So the next option was to throw him away, the entire family concluded. Meanwhile, Angela was not even aware of the danger her son was in. Mama Kayo suggested that sending thieves to forcefully take Max from his mother will be the best, so that no one suspects them. Kayo gave his mother money to send the people that will take their son away. He then informed Angela that they will be leaving the next day. Angela was happy, because she was already exhausted. The next day, they bid everyone goodbye and left. On their way, two men ran out of the bush and pointed a gun at them. Angela freaked out and covered her face, thinking they were robbers. But the next thing she felt was a strong blow to her head, and she passed out. Take him and do whatever you want to him, just make sure he leaves this world, Kayo instructed the men. We will drown him, one of the men suggested. I don't care, just make sure he doesn't live, Kayo said crying. When the men left, he waited for another 20 minutes to make sure they have gone far and started shaking Angela to wake up. After shaking Angela for some minutes, she woke up crying. What happened? Are you okay? She asked looking at Kayo. I am okay, but they took our son with them, Kayo said looking away, sobbing. What? How? Why? Angela asked screaming. People stopped their cars to know what happened. Everyone advised them to report to the police immediately, maybe they might recover their child. Kayo drove to the nearest police station from the express, while Angela was wailing all the way there. When they got there, Kayo was told to write statement. He wrote everything that happened and they told him to go and that investigation will commence immediately. They were about to leave when Kayo saw the two men who had taken their baby, walking into the police station. He almost had a heart attack. They shook hands with him and introduced themselves as police officers. So, Mama Kayo paid police officers to do the job for them. She doesn't want the boy to be found ever again. They stylishly made Kayo to understand that Max was gone and the operation was successful. Kayo later drove home with Angela, who was devastated. They told all their neighbors what happened and everyone empathized with them. Their pastor was also called and their entire church started praying for them and their son. How is she now? I hope she has forgotten that demonic child, Mama Kayo asked her son about Angela. She is still crying and hoping for him to be found. He is dead and will never be found, that was why I used officers for the job. Make another baby and forget that evil you called a child. If you make another one, we will make sure he follows our way, Mama Kayo said, consoling his son. 5 years passed and Max was still missing. By then Angela was almost sleeping in the church, hoping for a miracle. Exactly 6 years later, Angela got pregnant again. She gave birth later to a blind baby boy. Kayo and his family were devastated. They felt Angela brought bad luck into their family. So they called a family meeting again. Kayo, we need a son from you, for long life and the progress of this family. Your sisters could not get married nor have children of their own, even when they tried to have children. We need a young blood that will take over from your weak father who is almost dying. You are our only hope, since your only brother is mentally unstable and in chains. So we decided to tell you to marry another woman that will bear normal and healthy sons for this family, Mama Kayo said authoritatively. Kayo wanted so badly to marry another woman, but because he was an elder in the church, he knew he will be condemned and even chased out of his church, and the offering money he steals with others that has made him a bit richer, will stop, so he planned on how to kill Angela and be free. After all, no one judges a widower. So he paid some area boys to do the dirty job for him. Angela was always in the church with her blind son. She was constantly praying for her son's sight, hoping for a miracle. One night, she was returning from the church as usual at night when the area boys stopped her. She cried and pleaded for mercy. She thought they had come to take her child again, so she knelt with her child clutched tightly on chest and told them to do everything to her, but spare her child. "You are a fool, who wants to harm your cursed baby. Your husband only paid us to take you out." But as they were about to shoot her, some church members who had seen the area boys loitering around earlier, ran out of hiding, shouting, "Thief, thief." The area boys shot at Angela and she fell on the ground. They ran away and were never caught. "Who were those crazy men?" one of the area boys asked. "I am happy we did our job, even with their distraction. Let's go and ask for balance," the area boys who had run into the bush concluded and left. The church members rushed to Angela, but she was already lying face down and blood was flowing from her stomach. "Go and get help, she is still alive," one of the men said to the others. They quickly rushed Angela to the hospital. Angela was still unconscious, so the church members tried to call Kayo and inform him of what happened. But he refused to pick up. After trying severally without getting any response, one of the men took charge and told the doctor to continue treating Angela, and that he will pay and help out until her husband comes. Kayo, after hearing from the area boys that the deed has been done, went to the club and drank himself to stupor. He kept cheering himself to freedom while ignoring his calls from anyone. Hours later, with intensive treatment and surgery, Angela woke up. She asked of her baby and he was brought to her. She saw the women leader of her church and beckoned on her to come. "Have you told my husband about what happened?" Angela asked, looking scared. "We went to your house to inform your husband, after calling him for hours, but he was not around. Please, do not let him know anything about this incident. I would like to tell him myself to avoid him having high blood pressure," Angela lied. The women leader agreed and promised to stay away. Few hours later, when it was very late at night, Angela ran away with her baby. She wanted to deal with Kayo first before telling everyone what happened. But because she does not have enough money to fight him, she ran very far from him. And when Kayo heard that she survived but ran away, he made everyone believe she was cheating on him, and that she had followed her lover. 20 years go by and Kayo's third wife was yet to conceive. He had married 3 more women after Angela disappeared, but none could conceive. So he aged so fast and was constantly ill due to the stress of making enough money to take care of his wives. Angela returned to her village after escaping and opened a small school, which later grew so big within those 20 years. Meanwhile, Max was alive. The people, who abducted him, sold him to a couple looking for a child. The couple, who owned a church, trained Max abroad to come and take over their ministry. Their ministry was one of the biggest and most popular churches in the country. So they trained Max, who had a special calling from God, to take over. Max could not be killed as a baby, because he had a very strong spirit. The very first day Max appeared on Angela's television and introduced himself as Pastor Bob, Angela knew that was her son. Angela started trying to meet Max one-on-one. But it was almost impossible, as Max always had 3 to 4 security men following him around. So she created a scene one evening that Max was coming out of his church. Angela started rolling on the ground immediately she saw Max come out of the church and headed towards his car. Max had no choice than to go close to her. His security men tried to push Angela away from Max, but he refused and insisted on speaking with her. "I am your mother," Angela said and hugged him. This was the only thing Angela could say in that little opportunity she had. Max felt she was sick mentally and entered his car. When he got home, he saw a note in his pocket, as Angela squeezed a note in his pocket quickly during the chaos. When he opened it, he read the little story she wrote about how he was born and kidnapped at 1 year old. Being a spiritual person, he felt drawn to this woman more than he has ever felt drawn to the mother who raised him. So he called the phone number Angela wrote in the letter. 2 days later, They met and the resemblance made it even easier to reconcile. When Max confronted his parents, they denied ever abducting him but claimed they picked him on their way to ministration, where he was abandoned. Max knew they were lying, but he still forgave them, because they gave him the best life and opportunity he could ever ask of. Kayo was paid a visit by Max and Angela, because Max insisted on reconciliation. But Kayo refused to accept Maximum. He claimed he was the reason the deity wiped off his entire family and made him poor and miserable. He said his entire family died within 1 year, because Angela was too religious and blind to his family's values. "I will never forgive you for destroying my life," he said angrily and released his hungry dogs at them. Imagine believing so much in something that can harm your offspring. Belief can be dangerous at times, so be careful of what you believe in. May we be too spiritually strong like Max, so that we cannot not be harmed, even when we are not looking.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.